Hi, it's Maija here and welcome to my Halloween reading recommendations. In this video I'll give you spooky or straight up horror recommendations in different categories, and in each category I'll also mention one book that I plan to read myself quite soon. Let's start with the least scary ones, so spooky middle grade books. The imagery in these books will spook children and adults alike. My first recommendation is Coraline by Neil Gaiman. In this book, Coraline's family moves to a new house, and Coraline discovers a pathway into a house that is exactly like her own, except much more awesome at first, but all the inhabitants have buttons for eyes. My second recommendation is Neil Gaiman's The Graveyard Book. In Gaiman's spooky rendition of Kipling's The Jungle Book, Nobody Owens is raised in the graveyard by ghosts after his family is murdered. In my opinion, out of these two, Coraline is far creepier, whereas The Graveyard Book just utilizes this spooky setting and features ghosts and monsters as characters. And yes, both of those recs were by Neil Gaiman, so sue me. And the book that I have on my TBR is The Lie Tree by Frances Hardinge. From what I know, this is about a girl called Faith who discovers this strange tree that delivers you a truth if you whisper a lie to it. Now we are moving on to classics, and these are great horror classics that rely more on atmosphere and expanding on their chosen themes rather than just delivering scares. And the first that I want to mention is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. In this one, Victor Frankenstein creates new life and then refuses to take any responsibility for it. Next, I'd like to recommend Shirley Jackson's books. My personal favorite is The Haunting of Hill House. In this one, there are three people who join this occult scholar in Hill House to search for solid evidence of a haunting. I sadly don't yet own that one, but a lot of people also like Shirley Jackson's We Have Always Lived in the Castle. From my to-be-read list, I will mention Dracula. I'm not the biggest fan of Dracula, but I have listened to a couple of hours of the Audible adaptation with a full cast, and so far it's been really good, so I don't feel bad about mentioning it and recommending it. There's also this very beautiful illustrated edition of Dracula, so if you're a Dracula fan, maybe look for this. It has illustrations by Becky Cloonan, and it is published by Harper Design. Dracula, of course, is about this Transylvanian vampire who moves to London and hunts some nubile Victorian women, right? Oh look, we started speaking about vampires and I really enjoy reading about them, so let's have a couple of vampire book recommendations. Interview with the Vampire by Anne Rice is set in New Orleans, and it tells the story of Louis, who is turned into a vampire by the charismatic but very unpredictable Lestat. Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Le Fanu is also a classic and one of the earliest examples of vampire literature. In this one, Laura and her father take this unknown young woman to live with them, to be Laura's companion, and by modern standards they are so very clueless about Carmilla's true nature. On my vampire TBR, I have Certain Dark Things by Silvia Moreno Garcia, which is about Aztec vampires in Mexico City. For my second to last category, we are moving into actual adult horror. These are books that will creep you out, but as I prefer more slower, quieter and atmospheric horror, do not expect a lot of action or even that many answers. Just expect this eternally building sense of creepiness. My first recommendation is no surprise, it's The Red Tree by Caitlin R. Kiernan. In this one, an author rents a cabin in rural Rhode Island to finish writing her book, and there are urban legends about the old red oak standing in the premises, because of course there are. I will also recommend the novella Wilding Hall by Elizabeth Hand. In this one, musicians look back on the 70s when their band spent this one summer in old Wilding Hall where their lead singer disappeared. From my TBR, I'd like to mention Experimental Film by Gemma Files. I have mentioned this in a ton of TBR videos, but here it is again. This is a ghost story about a Canadian film teacher who starts investigating the disappearance of an early filmmaker. And for my final category, I'm going to recommend some spooky comics. We'll start with the least creepy of the bunch. This is aimed towards ages 13 and plus, and it is the Courtney Crumrin series by Ted Nafee. Courtney and her parents move in with her great uncle Aloysius, who just happens to be a warlock. Courtney, of course, learns about the existence of magic and also of the existence of these supernatural creatures called night things that live in the neighborhood. Seriously, just look at this cover. There are 6 of these in the main series and also one extra volume that tells about Uncle Aloysius when he was a young man. And I really love them. My next recommendation is not a specific comic, it is a comic creator, and that is Emily Carroll. Her comics are so beautiful, so disturbing, with a great use of colors. In print there is her collection Through the Woods, which combines some of her horror short comics, and she also has a bunch of horror comics on her website, which I will link down below. My favorite two, which I will also link, are The Prince and the Sea, which is this horror fairy tale about a prince falling in love with a mermaid. And my second favorite, which is also in the Through the Woods collection, is His Face All Red. I still have a few more comic recommendations. I couldn't very well leave The Sandman out. This is a comic series by Neil Gaiman, and the first 2 volumes are much more horror-like. They have more horror vibes than the later volumes do. So this is the story of Lord of Dreams called Morpheus, who is returning to his kingdom. There's also Harrow County by Cullen Bunn and Tyler Crook. The first volume is called Countless Haints, I believe. This is a Southern Gothic horror comic series about Emmy, who has inherited the powers of a witch who was killed by her parents and her parents' friends. And it has quite beautiful watercolor art, so check that one out. And the final thing that I will mention in this video is from my TBR, and that is By Chance or Providence by Becky Cloonan. This one collects together Cloonan's previously self-published comics in one volume. I don't know much about the story, but I just love Cloonan's art. Just check out these art pages at the back. Look at this one, and these 2 might actually be my favorites. I'm so looking forward to reading this. So those were my Halloween reading recommendations. I hope you found something that caught your interest. That's all from me for now. Have an awesomely spooky Halloween. Bye!